This is what's going on. So I understand you're saying we paid you, you wrote a letter that none of us can see and we haven't seen. But why do we have the accounts? What are the accounts for? And what is the real issue? You're saying you can't get the information. Why can't you get the information? Does it not exist? Or was it somebody isn't giving it to you? That's what I want to understand. So I just feel like there's too much surface conversation going on here. And I'd like to know what's going on.
Yeah. So if I can only respond, to what it is that I know, what it is I've given, and the questions I've asked. Clearly, there's a lot more than the town of Lunenburg than what we were provided with your main operating accounts. There's other things that you guys have done business with out there, and accounts have been set up that we still haven't even seen yet, but I understand you guys are in possession of. Right now. Say again?
Who are you asking for?
Originally, it was asked, and we sat with your treasurer, to get this information, and we were provided annual reports and things like that to try to, for lack of a better word, understand and marry all this information together, which is when we started noticing, whether or not it's your highway fund or some other funds that exist with some committees out here. That wasn't part of that information, but we know there's some accounts that exist that weren't provided, that I believe you guys probably have a more comprehensive list than we do right now. But we were raising the question to say, there looks like some other information out there that exists, that goes on outside this building, here right now. What is it and where is it? Because the 6 that you gave us that we know about, we know that that's multiplied for sure out there with some other business. I don't know the purpose of it. I haven't even seen that information.
Can you talk specifically so you're talking about these accounts that we have. Can you talk specifically, who should know about those accounts? Where should the information of those accounts be housed? And how do our residents get that information?
So clearly the statute dictates, the very answer to that. Your board of selectmen and your treasurer should know everything that's going on here in this town with all the financial institutions and all your banking information that they have. And there's a clear protocol statutorily that kind of dictates how that information is provided, to them to provide to you. And when you go look at your annual report right now, that's not comprehensive. There's things that aren't in that annual report, okay? Which is one of our first things that we saw based on the reports that we, were able to access, that Pat worked with us to get. It's like, when I'm looking at this annual report, I see some things on here that I don't see on your annual report. And then, when we think all your banking information resides in, Pasumsic Bank, and it resides in another bank, and there's other banking institutions, well, we didn't know about those. What are they? What's the purpose? I don't think anybody really
But you're not really addressing my question, which was, where should that information be?
Yeah.
Who should be the keeper of that information? Yeah. And how should our residents access it?
So I'm going to go back. Your board of selectmen and your treasurer should have all that information to be able to provide that. Okay. So that's the answer to that question. That's what the statute says. And you've got elected auditors, and the statute have right and access to that information. Any banking account, your statute says your treasurer should be on that information. So if there's accounts out there that we don't know about, that she doesn't know about, that's a problem. If the board of selectmen don't know about it, that's a problem. And the fact that we already know that there's some of these accounts that exist, the board of selectmen should have known about that. Your treasurer should have known about it, and I hope that answers your question. So, and as far as having the information, it should all reside under one roof. And as I said earlier, that's a problem. It's all fragmented out here. It all doesn't reside under this roof.
Well, specifically from the information you've gathered and you've audited, where are the holes or the problems that you see? And I realize that there's accounts you don't know about, things are not organized where they should be, but specifically from what the work you've done, you're being paid for, where are the problems that you see?
You don't have complete financial records in-house. A lot of this stuff exists.
Well, from what you've gleaned so far, what do you see?
I see you don't have all the information. I see your board of selectmen doesn't have all the information. I don't know if your treasurer's on these banking accounts out there. I haven't even seen them yet. So we're trying to obtain that
information that you've
information.
gathered. Where are the issues that you see from what you have gathered so far?
So the information that I've seen,
You're saying vagary.
yeah, there's no vagary here. I've seen what you've given to me. I've seen your operating bank account. I've seen 6 accounts. We can provide you with those lists. We've tested those lists. That's why we know there's other bank accounts that exist out there, because they're not part of the list you gave.
Well, I got all that information from Luke, frankly.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah,
So that's good.
why do our own auditors know all this information and you're saying you don't have all that
You
information?
never provide it to us. You asked us to provide a financial statement audit, go look at our letter of engagement. You didn't give us everything to audit. We were raising these questions long before Luke, started looking on these accounts right now, these elected audits. So that's really it, the information we weren't given it, so.
Gary. Greg, sorry.
You have to say the last name.
I know.
Look, we need to get away from attacking this customer. He tells you he's not getting the information. He's not paid to dig and drive to each one of these banks. He's telling you the information he's got has been put into a letter. It's been given to them. They can't release it till it's finalized. So to sit here and attack him, even when you're doing a little attacking of him, when you already know the answer to your question, but you want somebody else to say it.
No, I don't know the answers to my
The
question.
fact
That's
is-
why I'm asking them.
4 of you up there should have the answer and be giving it to him. It's not your fault, but we need to figure out how we get something triggered numbers in your brain to find certain things out, just not all the financial information. So somewhere we got to get on board with giving him that information to follow up on that account. So
Well, there's more than one. There's about 5
no,
or
last
6.
month it said there was 18.
So that we were
We know
given.
there's 18 accounts.
No,
Why
yeah,
doesn't he
confirm.
have the information?
The process that we have to engage in as internal auditors is we're performing our own audit, and it would be inappropriate to interfere with their audit because they have their own process. We're gathering information on our side as of right now. We will be sharing information as it's requested and as it's confirmed.
Sounds like he's requested information and nobody's given him anything.
So I'm not sure I'm going to say it that way. I think actually some of the people that you have in this building didn't know information for themselves.
No, I absolutely believe that everybody up there has stepped into a hornet's nest.
Yeah.
Oh, I absolutely believe that.
Yeah, and as far as the information request, I mean, obviously I can sit here now in hindsight and raise my hand and say, hey, here's all the things that we knew about. Well, there's more that we don't know, 6 months later in the relationship, which is, again, that's a concern right there. When you got to depend on your auditors, with all due respect, to come in here, you can attack me all you want. I'm working for you, but when you got to depend on me for these hard answers, you guys got problems. And I don't know why this conversation wasn't had long before 6 months ago, long before.
So I'll make a quick comment. I mean, I got to take some of this because I'm your chairman. There's a lot of this stuff I don't know. I've had a lot of conversations with Luke, and I'm going to forget your name. So I know they've put a lot of work into this. They're trying to figure stuff out too. I don't have answers, and for the answers I don't have, I apologize. I came into this and was going with a flow that was already there. I'm trying to do better. Gary's on board. We're just trying to make things better. I know that's not a great answer, but we're doing what we can. I know Luke himself and our other new auditor have well over 60 hours invested this since they've been elected. So we're trying to make things better. I know it's probably not what you want to hear right now, but there's an honest effort to try to get things better.
I just want to say, it's up to us, the people, also to step up and ask questions. We've had numerous town meetings in the past and nobody shows, So we got to take our own blame for it too.
So I will say it's nice. I say this all the time. I do like when people come to meetings. We're kind of driving. I'm not blaming anybody. We're just driving a ship.
Yeah, let's just.
Blindsided.
I will take responsibility for some of this because, like I said, there's a lot I don't know. I do what I can. I try to find out what I can. We're trying. Trevor.
So, a few different things. One, if you don't have an audit, it can impact you from borrowing any money. Right, sync this out. We're there in other areas for state governments not being able to get lines of credit because their books are bad.
Yes.
Okay? That's a risk that we're running right now.
Yeah, and Luke has had that conversation with us.
So, what I wanna understand is, we still haven't had, I still haven't been told or received the information yet. So all these accounts that are out there, like, I can understand from a practices standpoint that the cemetery fund, because it had a set of committee members on it, had its little pool of money out there that they had $500 come into, and they keep putting it in there, and there's a separate account for the cemetery fund sitting in this bank that people don't know about. But the way we're not communicating, or you're not communicating at this point to the town to tell us what there is out there and what there isn't out there and where the breakdown in communication is, like flat out, you're leaving us all hanging.
Can I address that one real quick?
Yeah.
I don't know if you're part of the auditor's email, but as we discover accounts, we are sending those out. If you've received it, then you know we're trying to, or at least on the auditor side, we're trying to be as very clear cut and transparent as possible. The reason that there haven't been any further updates on accounts that we've uncovered is I haven't uncovered any new accounts. We're still sitting at 18 confirmed as of right now. I still do have to go to a few of the other banks that are in St. Johnsbury in person in order to file requests for information forms. So I'm still on that process right now on an internal side. The internal audit is different from an external audit. They have to be treated as two separate entities. And those are, rules that I'm sure you guys abide by too. Those are rules set forth by the Comptroller General of the United States. So you have to have two separate, if one person's contracted and you have elected officials, you have to run these as separate entities unless information is requested.
Maybe I need to be more specific.
Okay.
So in those accounts that you've got, like lines of credit,
Correct. Yes.
you can have an account open, but a zero balance because it's sitting there for years that they don't use the line of credit.
Mm-hmm.
Is that the case with some of those 18 accounts?
None of those so far. I think, and I'm sure you would agree with this assessment, is a major problem we're having with several of these open accounts is that they were either forgotten about, neglected, or they were inappropriate accounts to begin with. We have two CDs, we have two certificate of deposit accounts, which we should not have as a township, as those accrue interest, and then, once you pull them out, there's a high yield interest, which you get tax gains on that, which we should not be having. Does that answer your question a little bit more directly?
A little bit. I just wanted to make sure. So it feels like, another question is, are you communicating with them? That are you guys getting information and sharing information? Because from the outside perspective, it feels like that's where the breakdown is. It feels like the breakdown is you're not telling them information and you guys are hunting for information. And if that's a problem, then we need to know that.
Actually, Trevor, if I may address that directly, part of our auditorship is we need to go and hunt the information and independently verify it. We need to be the ones to verify it. If you just rely on information that's given to you, at least my auditor experience on a corporate level, if you're relying on information given to you by the subject of your audit, it's inherently tainted.
Yeah.
Just because if you're investigating something or you're auditing something and somebody only gives you a piece of the picture, then we're stuck in the spot that these guys are in, which is, well, we're only able to view this small amount of information instead of the whole picture. My experience in the corporate world is I like to go to source material directly, so I circumvent any potential happening or any potentiality of that happening. I just go right to the source. That's my approach. It's an approach I'm very comfortable with and I have a lot of experience with. And that's also why I don't necessarily request information, I just go get it. But then once we get it, we're sharing it with the town as we're acquiring it.
And as far as some of these accounts that we're talking about, I think there's a county treasurer doesn't even know.
Yeah.
And I think that's a major problem.
If I could just add one thing, the selectmen have asked that at the special town meeting, we will hand out a list of the accounts that we know about and what those accounts, what their names are, what they're used for, if we can figure out what balances are, we're gonna hand that out. I think the one thing that everything needs people need to remember is, it is not gonna take us a month to figure this out. It is not gonna take us 6 months. It's gonna take a full year before we uncover everything and correct all the practices. From my standpoint, I've spent, probably 50 hours on the budget since I was elected. And from my standpoint, I've sat down with Patty, and Patty has given me information. Some of that information is very incomplete, and I think part of it is the way that we are keeping our books, that the information just is not there. The books aren't being, that we're not expensing things correctly, we're not,
Showing things.
we're not, when we're getting monies in, we're not putting them in the right places. And so when you try to track some of this down, it's impossible. It really is impossible.
And to expand that a little more, when you've got a town walk where everything should be on there, it's not. So that makes it problematic right there if your elected officers aren't seeing all that, or your treasurer, because there's business being conducted outside this building, that's a problem.
Now, the good news on that one, too, Sheriff, is that we do have a path to cure. So the auditors already, a couple weeks ago, we sent out a step-by-step on how we're going to be ensuring that that does not occur in the future going forward. We will be implementing some of those changes this month. We wanted to wait, give ourselves a little bit of time for this budget. But going forward, we have a path to cure in terms of how, invoices, receipts, bills should be, handled on time on a weekly basis, doing substantiations, then doing monthly reconciliations. That's why the auditors too are going to be doing those monthly updates, not just monthly meetings, but monthly emails out showing step by step exactly what we received, what we didn't receive, and how that information is being handled going forward. So we're dealing with the issue as it has been. Going forward, it's not going to be anywhere near like what it's been.
One sec, Sharon Marguerite had something first.
Oh,
so how do we correct, not have this happen again where there's so many different accounts out here?
of course. I don't know if you want to give your recommendations.
I can opt it easy on that one.
Oh,
Yeah.
I can, well, internally, something that the auditors will present is a consolidation of accounts to one bank.
Yeah.
That's the easiest thing. And we'll only have one master account and then several sub-fund accounts.
Yeah.
And that would be the easiest recourse.
And I think that information is given to your board in the forms of report every month, and that information is available every month. And at the end of the year, when you guys congregate in March for town meeting, that information talks to your annual report, and that's all not happening.
And then since the auditors will be updating monthly, everyone can go month to month if they want and see if anything's changed drastically from those monthly reports. Yes, Sharon?
So, this is a hard one. If the books aren't being done right now, if things are not being put in QuickBooks correctly, all of this, we're not gonna fix it. It's going to continue this craziness. So is there training that's going to happen with the treasurer to fix this?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so like I said, we have Path to Cure already set up. We actually already sent that message out
Right.
and through Facebook and
I didn't
emails.
understand what you were saying.
Oh, okay, no, of course, but yes, we have a process that we will be enforcing as auditors. We have to make sure, as elected auditors, because there is a difference between an external audit and an internal audit. And that's great, that's why I was saying we have to kind of keep these separate because they're their own entity, we're our own entity. And the point of an audit is to independently verify information. You can't, share information or be given information or rely entirely on that and say, yes, this is
So
the way it is.
there will be training for the treasurer.
Correct, yeah.
To get this correct.
As part of our duties and responsibilities, we have to audit the processes as well and then enforce them. And so, yes, we do have step-by-steps on how those.
And there's some great classes available out there offered by many Vermont organizations.
Yeah.
Great classes.
Yeah, okay, I'm sorry, I leave, but,
Thank you, Sharon.
Thank you, Sharon.
Dana?
Hey, you got a name right.
Gary didn't say it, that's good. And I'm tired.
Barry, she pretty much asked my question, but my issue is, we've all been there with it, as Linda said. To let it get to this point, we have issues with our treasurer and town clerk. That's where it starts. And it has not, nobody's forced the issue. The training is a wonderful thing, but how the hell do you have 18 or 20 or 30 accounts and not have something written down, what we have in this town? That's ludicrous. It's ridiculous. That's what's gotta be fixed.
I don't have a good answer for you,
Going
Dana.
forward,
I just know moving forward,
I understand.
yep, no, I understand what you're saying.
We're in a terrible predicament. It's
Yes, ma'am.
gonna be better.
Yes, thank you. I'm Jan Bradberg. Thank you. For Luke, the auditor, number one, we have to get this budget and the audit for 22
Correct.
to present to the state
Correct.
by a certain deadline.
Correct.
So that is, you're working on that pretty fastidiously, I would think,
Yes.
to get that. Okay, now the other thing is, are you, as opposed to this gentleman here, he's doing a financial statement audit, and you are doing a forensic audit.
Correct. So,
Then I have another
oh,
question.
do you want me to respond to that or wait for you to finish your?
No, respond to that
Okay,
one.
yes, so we're doing different approaches. I'm performing what is known in the corporate world, and Ron has said is what's known as a forensic. It's a very in-depth, detailed audit.
Right.
The reason I'm doing that is because I live here. This is my town. I have experience doing this, so I'm able to volunteer my time. I'm not bound by constraints of engagement or professional engagement. Because as Ron over here said, you know, he was told it was going to be one thing and a whole bunch was thrown on him, and he's actually very generous in going past the scope of the original engagement letter without charging us additional amounts. So thank you for that. I have the freedom to use my experience and volunteer my time to do a more in-depth and detailed audit. Which is why our approaches are very different too. The world that I come from is a different kind of world. I actually don't have experience working as a town auditor. I'm entirely on the corporate level, business level, and these mistakes are more than just you lose your job, you get sued and some oblivion. And so that's why I'm so fastidious, as you said, in getting and hunting down this information. But the difference is I'm doing a very, very detailed audit.
And I would just add, just on top of
Well, no, that doesn't really answer my question, but maybe you can answer it. The actual signature card, when the account was open, are you going to keep a photocopy of that on file
Oh, I
in
see
the
what you're
town's clerk's office, so you know exactly when and where and whom?
Not
etc.
every bank provides that. Most banks,
Why can't you get that?
because most banks don't track that signature. They'll show a
They have
opening
to.
date and then they'll show who requested it. But
Mhm.
it's not always the signature of the person.
Then they're only getting paid for
That's.
Well, that's
hours a week.
if I may, actually, I'm not even counting that. This is a volunteer job for me.
It's not. It's
Um,
not. There's a certain amount of time that you gotta have a family life, you gotta have another, you can't dedicate your
family life. Sorry, Rebecca, never.
Yeah, you just, yeah,
You in
yeah.
front of our
I
entire
forgot
family.
she was here. Shoot. No, but
No, if you, a lot of times, you have to verify that signature. If somebody's writing a check on that account or wants to make a withdrawal, you have to verify that signature that's on file.
I think, you know what, I think there's been a breakdown or a misunderstanding on my part. I thought you were asking for a very specific form on who opened the account. There's not that. There are signatory informations, which we do have the details and records of, yes. And the signatory is who is currently listed as a signatory, and we have who was the original signatory.
And you have the layers back of any time anything changed
Correct. Yes.
for each account. Are you going to get that?
Yes. As part of the audit, it's prudent to see when the account was opened, who opened it,
Right,
and when that signatory was either changed over
right.
or whether they continue to be the current signatory.
You need that history.
Yes.
Because that helps decide, well, why was this account open?
It
Why?
can, yes.
You know, then go back to those that signed and maybe
Yes.
they would be able to, if there's no lie. Well, yes, if there's no lie.
Well, and just to
Yes.
answer further, the reason I said I don't, not every bank provides that is because truly, not every bank provides that, believe it or not. Woodsville Guarantee provides it, but was it Muskoma and Bank of New Hampshire didn't provide it. They just don't
Can
keep
you
track
ask?
of it.
They don't keep track of the
Correct.
original signatories?
Correct. Or if they do keep track of it, then they don't have a means of printing it out, even somebody like me who requests it specifically, because I know to ask for information like that. And that's why I want to be very realistic with you too. So when able, yes, I will have that.
Trevor's ahead of
But I can't guarantee it for every single one.
Okay, thank you
And then
very much.
Mr. Colby, Sheriff Colby?
Yep.
Sheriff Colby?
Sorry, I'm just really impatient. So.
So was I.
I'm sorry, but, so if I get called and I go to a scene and my public information, I have to say the reason I was called there, the people that I addressed, and what happened when I went to that scene, right?
Correct.
So the public gets general information about what's going on immediately, about what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
And all I've gotten tonight so far is, we're working on it. We can't tell you the name of the accounts. We can't tell you whether there's money there. You haven't told me whether you guys are working together or not. But hold on one sec. I understand because of the process, you're saying it's like an investigation for me. I'm not opening information and I do it my way. What we want to know, or what I want to know, I don't like all these rumors and all the gossip and all the garbage. I'd rather have people just be straight as what's going on. And I honestly, I know all of you that are sitting there on the select board, and I know Pat, and I want to know, is this going to continue next year, or are we trying to figure something out and provide training? Because I'll tell you, everybody's salary and everybody's stipend is up at this next meeting.
Yep.
Right? So are you guys all working together, or are we zeroing everything out and everybody's going to be a volunteer next year? I mean, that's where I'm at, because I'm frustrated that I'm learning all of this, and it seems like close to a criminal offense, what you guys are describing about where money is and isn't. So one of the rumors was the auditor said from what he could see, there wasn't any criminal offenses happened to date. That's a rumor, just so you know, that's out there in town. The rumor out there in town is Patty's not sharing any information or allowing people access to the financial records in town. These are the rumors. I just want to tell you what's going on out there. So the select board is saying, we're waiting for this auditor. The new auditors are diving in. We got the minutes of the meeting from you guys, but nobody's still telling us what's going on. And all we're getting tonight is waiting. You're saying, I totally understand what you're saying about your audit. I didn't get the information. I can't do an audit without the information to tell you whether anything's accurate. You're telling me that you go in and you dig in and you find the information, whether it's presented to you or not. So at some point, somebody should tell us what's going on before we come up with another meeting to vote on a town budget, because that's what I thought this meeting was.
Exactly, that's what I was talking about, was addressing the gentleman in regard to where are the specific problems, because this is supposed to be a presentation, and all it is just creating more like unknown.
We're just waiting. I don't like the rumors and the gossip and the turmoil that we're facing right now. And that's just.
Well, I think we have addressed some specifics tonight. One of the specifics is we are not keeping our books the way we're supposed to keep our books.
Right.
So we know that is going to be corrected. If that is not corrected by next year, I will resign. I promise you that. That has to be corrected. To use your example, when you show up at a live scene, you're investigating something that's happening live right there. What we are trying to do is dig up a 6-year-old murder and trying to figure out what the hell went on. Now, one of the things that you all asked for at town meeting was in the revised budget that we hand out to you, which if we get that tonight, we have some stuff to share with you, to put in the actual expenses from 2021. And so I've done that on the spreadsheet that I put in. How anyone in this room voted yes on that budget, I will never, ever understand. It was complete and total trash. It's completely inaccurate. There are figures that make absolutely no sense. It's a piece of trash. So, but I put it in there because people asked me to. But just so you know, we're trying to come up with a budget that we think you all will pass, and we think we have it. We think we have it. But we're trying to come up with that information from the most bogus information that we can work with. Because for the most part, the information we need does not exist because we've not accounted for it in that way, shape, and form for far too long.
And I'd just like to respond to one thing. I don't deal with rumors and accusations. Pat's been very, very cooperative in the information I have. I just want to make that clear. So whatever you've heard, I can tell you what, I don't care what you've heard. I just care what I've seen with all due respect. She's been very helpful. She's been very helpful, I'll say that.
So actually, if I could jump on that, Sheriff Colby, just to address, same thing. We don't deal with conjecture. We deal with extreme, with facts, with what is, which is why I go and hunt down, source information. Do you have a more specific, I don't want to say complaint, but a more specific point, something that you feel specifically that we can address right now?
So the issue really is, the concern that I think was raised is there an element where it goes beyond just mismanagement and lack of understanding?
Okay, let me answer this as clearly as possible. Yes, there is a line that goes from mismanagement to malfeasance. I don't have confirmation and I don't have the data to support that line being crossed at this time. I'm not looking for that. I'm not hoping for it. None of that. At this time, from the information I've gathered and reviewed, I cannot conclude that line has been passed. Is that direct enough? There is a line. I have not concluded.
Yeah, no, I understand.
Okay. Yes.
She was first here.
Oh, man.
It's just because Mr. Smith's here for this night only. I have a presentation and I still haven't had any specifics because you did go through 2021. I just have 2 questions for you, sir. The first one is it typical for you to get a letter of engagement from the select board of the town, or does it usually come from a committee?
It comes from the select board of the town.
It usually does, okay. And then my second question is, because you went through 2021 and you were dealing with financial statements, does that include financial statements about funds from the state?
Yes.
Okay, so can you answer for this crowd what happened to $398,000 in ARPA funds in 2021?
I can certainly do that. So listen, I'll give you that answer. And what I would probably suggest is, if there's any other questions about that, to the nature of your finances, may I suggest you give a list, to your board of selectmen? I haven't seen it.
2 years ago.
Okay, I haven't seen it yet, but I'd love to answer that question because I know you got it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, are you answering it?
I know you got them. I just don't know where they're at right now. You got those 2 years.
But tonight is your night for presentation, but you didn't bring the numbers?
I don't have the numbers. So your numbers
you
are all.
just said you got your state.
I know you received ARPA funds because I can confirm that to the state. Could I go through your general ledger and go through and confirm what you did with all those funds? I can't right now because some of that happened last year beyond our scope, and this year that we're in right now,
I'm
that you
talking
told us
about
not to audit. Yes. So 2021, you got ARPA funds in 21. I believe you got them in 22.
You did, but I'm asking about 2021.
So 2021, we can get you that information with what you've got that we've been given here right now, that we've collaborated with the state. We can provide that. I can't do that right now. I'm not prepared to do that right now. Be irresponsible. Because there's other things that I still don't know.
About 20, on our town report here on page 35, it tells the, almost the $392,000 from January 1st, 22 to 12/31/22.
I've got nothing, I have no opinion on 22. You didn't hire us for 22, so we're clear. I have no opinion. No opinion.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, and I understand most of your ARPA came in 22 and some in 21.
It was $398,993 in 2021, which is the money you had access.
Yeah.
That's why I'm asking that question.
We'll confirm that. So, and if there's any other questions that you have, please give it to us, Len. I haven't seen these questions. Well, I haven't seen them. I'm telling you that right now. I haven't seen them.
Okay.
All right, were you
Hold on,
aware?
ma'am, hold on. We got one more in the back.
I guess this is a question, for Luke. So, you indicated in your letter that there are 18, bank accounts. I realize you can't confirm them specifically, but the treasurer for the Lunenburg,
cemetery commission for, not Riverside, but for the other 3 cemeteries, you have listed Woodsville Guaranty Savings Bank, 3 checking accounts. Would it be appropriate for me to confirm that 2 of those checking accounts are the cemetery accounts?
You can ask that question, absolutely.
That's not my only question.
No, of course. That's no problem. Yeah, I can confirm the accounts that we have information on. You said the 3 Woodsville, correct?
Correct. I'm aware that I have 2 checking accounts for the cemetery commission.
Yes, you do. They're both of those are referred to as NOW, now checking accounts. Yep.
Yeah.
And I do have the current year-to-date amounts of those, and also year-end of 2022 amounts of those. That's what I can't share. But I can say.
I have that information at home.
Yeah. But I can say that yes, 2 of those 3 are for the cemetery fund.
Okay. I think that when you sent this out and everybody went, 18 accounts, what has Patty done and what is she taking for money and put into these, all these extra checking or savings or CD accounts? So I think that's, she doesn't have anything to do with the cemetery accounts. I mean,
I'm not even on.
right.
Well, and this is why at that auditor meeting I said we don't engage in supposition and we don't treat any of that as axiomatic. We don't say it's either yes or no. We just present the information, period. And that's Sheriff Cole. That's why I can't say that through my process I engage in or even listen to talk, because it has no bearing for me. So I understand your statement, but I can't say that was my intention. It wasn't at all. It's just presenting information. So.
Well, I just want everybody to know that at least 2 of those accounts are the cemetery accounts.
That's fantastic.
So.
Great. Yes.
I've got an account that's Woodville too.
Okay.
I don't know if it's that one.
That would be the 3rd one then, guys. There we go.
That's the veterans account.
Perfect. I don't think that.
Lunenburg veterans.
It's not called that. But if you're telling me that that's one of them, then there we go. See, there's the problem that we're encountering is a lot of these accounts aren't named. Is we have 5 savings accounts from Tusumsec that are unknown. They literally say NA.
Oh my God.
So that's the part of the confirmation is
Mine's in the book.
Yours is in the book.
Yours
Yes.
is in the book. Fantastic. We haven't matched it up because on Woodsville, when the account name is just called NOW checking.
Right. That was a interest.
It's an interest.
Interest bearing.
So do you know why we went through high yield interest bearing accounts? Actually, I apologize. Never mind. That's something we'll figure out later. Once again, the process that the internal auditors are engaged in is we've got to find how many accounts we have first, and then we'll be drilling into finding out exactly where money was spent, why it was taken. We want direct statements for federal grants. We thought, the auditors thought that this meeting was about the budget, and so we have a bunch of budget questions, which now we have some more time to get information on. But we like to have source material, so we'll be asking from the state for their statements saying this money was sent out to the town of Lunenburg for this much, it was signed by this person, etc.
But anytime you want to look at my books.
I don't need to. That's the beautiful part. Because you guys are a separate, you're on your own fund. Our role is to see that money was sent to you and it was sent to you for a reason.
Are you using the town's tax ID number for that account though? Is that one of these unknown, like if you have our town's federal tax ID number, that you're using that for the veterans account? Or you're using somebody's social security number?
Yeah, see that, and that's the other problem is when I go and I'm using the town's EIN number and then also our SAM number.
It's nothing to do with the town account.
Yeah, so that's probably not, you probably wouldn't even show up, is where I'm going.
Yeah.
But it's in everything in the cemetery account. I'm in the cemetery association. And I wrote it up. Debbie did she's the treasurer. I'm the treasurer of the veterans. What's the president? So.
But you do receive town monies.
Oh,
That's
yes.
why it should be.
Oh, absolutely. But that's also why when we have these unnamed accounts, I can't say, yes, that's perfectly for that. There are 2 accounts from Woodsville that today I got the actual names on them from my request. And 2 of those I know for a fact said the cemetery fund.
And fence account.
Pardon?
One's a fence account and one's a.
Yeah, they both said cemetery fund on them. The third one just said NW, or NOW. So,
But that's just a name for an interest.
correct. But see, the problem with that is I don't know exactly what it's for, right?
Well, when you look for the signatures and when it was open, there's your answer.
And, well, maybe not. That's the problem, is we have to be able to match up what that money was for, regardless of who opened it, with what the money actually was sent to. So if I'm able to trace that account and see, oh, it did go into the Veterans Fund, then fantastic, we'll rename it Veterans. A big problem that the internal auditors are encountering is not only are we discovering these accounts, we're discovering that most of them aren't named, they're not classified. That's a huge, huge issue because we can't confirm. And it's part of not engaging in conjecture. I will not say, oh, I think it's this, I think it's that, I need facts.
Can you balance this? I mean, can you have an inkling, say with Mr. Macy's account, have an inkling that it might be that account?
Yes, we have our, that's the process we're in right now.
Okay.
And so we are currently doing that. Kathy and I actually spent the weekend going through the statements that we've received. I mean, we're going through 3 years of bank statements from Sumsic and 2 years from Woodsville Guarantee and then a couple from Skoma. And so we're trying to match those up. That's the process we're in right now, and I will not say whether it's matching up or not yet. I'm going to wait to conclude. I hope everyone can respect that, because I don't want to engage in confusion.
And the same for me, but I would say is if I can answer any financial questions you have for the period of 21 until the scope of our relationship changes, I've seen none of your questions. So if you want to get those directed towards your board, I'd be more than happy to get those questions and certainly provide answers to that.
Well, the question I have is for the next April 18th meeting that we have, supposed to be talking about what the budget is going to be. What information is actually going to be available to us?
A lot. If we have time tonight, you'll see.
Yeah.
I have 20 copies of what, it's still a working document, but we will still give it out to people. We are a bit under a time crunch because not only do we need to get the budget that we want to present at town meeting, at the informational meeting, that budget has to be printed and stuffed into 900 and some odd mailboxes. And we want to get it to you in time so that you have time to dig through that and ask questions. So the deadline for when we hand off something to Staples is this Thursday. And so this Thursday, we're going to go with what we've got. I will tell you that we've got a lot more than we had from when we were at town meeting. There's a lot more. There's 3 pages of notes that will attach to this that tells you how some of the budget figures were obtained and where we couldn't obtain things. And so we're using, we surveyed surrounding towns to find out, okay, how much are their road materials going up in from 2022 to 2023? In theory, you would think if towns similar to us are projecting that they're going to have this much increase, Lunenburg is probably not that different. And so we've made some assumptions there and used those percentages. I've been to websites. I can tell you across the country what the average road crew person makes, that 10% of the people, 10% communities pay, and 25% and 50% and 75% and 90%. And that you'll see all that information. So if we have time tonight, we can talk about that.
Gentleman in the back by the fridge.
Yeah. So I'm just old school, but I guess what I don't understand, going back to these accounts, I really don't understand how you open an account and not have a name on it. I'm a little screwed up a lot. You got 8, however the number of accounts you got. How many you have that don't have a name?
Yeah.
But how does that happen?
I can tell you exactly how it happens. I just want to make sure I can define name. You're talking like the name of the banking account or the name of the individual on the account?
The banking.
Because I can tell you, every one of these banks that we're talking about, you know, has been bought out and purchased, and a lot of that information doesn't, because the banks will tell you, give you that answer, right?
It also comes to who opened the account. Maybe they didn't have the foresight or the experience to say, I'm gonna call this the cemetery fund account.
Yeah.
They might have gone, well, everyone knows that this account's gonna be this.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, the reality of that is very present
Yeah.
in what we're going through. And so that's why I said there is a line between malfeasance and maybe just inexperience. And everything so far we're seeing can be attributed to just inexperience or lack of foresight, not knowing, hey, you should label an account with public funds going into it. You want to be very specific about that. It's very easy to open up a new account, say it's for the town, and then not properly label it. And that's the reality we're running into.
So what's going on here and what you're supposed to investigate? Before you're done with this, we're gonna know exactly
Yes.
what it was for.
Yes.
Who opened the account?
Step one is finding out where our accounts are, which we're going through. There's, like I said, there's still several banks in St. Johnsbury and all throughout Vermont. I want to go through. I work in New Hampshire, so that's why I've hit every bank in New Hampshire so far. But yes, by the hopefully soon we will have not just every bank account that we have spread out, but we will have when it was opened, and hopefully after getting that information, I'll be able to engage with the people who were around during that time frame to see why it was opened. I'm going to be realistic though. There's the possibility that maybe somebody opened the account in 2008 and that person's no longer with us, and we won't get that information. And that's why consolidation is our best bet. Is just start brand new, close everything we don't need, and open new ones and start fresh.
And keep in mind, literally, they are having to drive to banks with a letter that authorizes them to get the information because the information does not exist in our town office.
Right.
So they're randomly going to banks, and some banks are saying, nope, we don't have anything under that EIN, and other banks are saying, we have 3 accounts, we have 2 accounts. But literally, they have to get in their car and drive to all of these banks all around our surrounding communities where maybe somebody at some point in time who held an elected official decided to open an account.
Trevor?
These are 2 specific questions.
Yes.
So when you're on the school board, you don't expect 10 years on. You can take a certain amount of money and roll it over into your capital asset fund to offset taxes for the following year. Tracking what?
Yep.
Same thing with the town, or no? Can the town take money from taxes that were generated, let's use 2021. We go to town meeting, we vote in, I'm gonna use this lady's specific example. We vote in $80,000 for a bridge project.
Mm-hmm.
We don't do the bridge project. Can that money be taken and set aside in a separate account for the next year or not?
You asking me that question?
Yes.
Absolutely, provided you're still gonna do that bridge project. Okay? So if it was the will of the wishes to do this bridge, like you couldn't get a contractor, or they couldn't get the materials because of supply and demand, goes into the next year. Question is if we put $80,000, how are we gonna keep track of it going into the next year? And I think some of that identity, a lot of that's been lost.
That's the reason I'm asking that question.
Yes.
That's the reason I'm asking.
And that particular bridge fund has actually been at the top of our mind too. We're hunting for that money because we think let's put it to an account, forgot about, nobody knows where the account
I
is.
found out why it wasn't done.
Pardon?
I found out why it wasn't done.
Is there a statement or a?
You had to go into a Gov, the Vermont Gov. It was supposed to be part of a grant.
Oh.
It was our 20% of a grant for that project. That grant failed to go through. Or somebody dropped the ball and didn't get it. So that money set aside for that bridge was probably rolled into the general fund somewhere and went somewhere else.
It's possible, but here's the concern is probably, right? We haven't confirmed, we haven't found if it even was.
You have
put
to get into your account.
Yeah.
For you to get the grant.
Right.
I don't have access to that.
No, right.
I just happened to read it and said, oh, that's the bridge project you're talking about. The grant never went through, so that money was set aside to
do our 20% of the pay.
Yeah.
Then it never happened.
If it is received.
And then if I was you, if you got your 22 budget that's been passed, you're working on your 23. If something comes, then I would reset everything December 31st, 23.
Yep.
Start over. If you can't defend it, reset it all, go for it.
Yep, that's.
Trevor?
So along that same discussion, so when we go to town meeting and we approve a budget for what the select board expects, they can expect, is it similar to the school where once the budget is done, the selectmen can do whatever they want with that budget and they don't have to?
That is not a fair statement. I would say it's a different conversation for roads and maintaining roads.
But it happens.
Because it's being winters, but that budget you guys passed is literally a blueprint. Except there's some special statutes that apply to roads and maintenance.
Okay, so with that, so the taxes, so that when we have uncollected taxes, that was money that the town anticipated collecting. And so they didn't get the money, been sitting out there a long time. You then go into your next budget, and that money is just sitting out there that then gets collected. You got a windfall of money collected. That windfall of money that gets collected is free to spend without.
Well, I'm not sure I'm gonna say that, that's for sure. But here's what I am gonna say. I'd like just the list that says what all your tax sale property would be and what we are sitting on right now that hasn't been sold. You know, because right now, your financial software, they don't talk to each other. So you got a separate platform for like your assessing, you know, for your grand list. But that doesn't talk to QuickBooks. So, and that's a conversation that we actually brought up, you know, as a point right there. So those things need to talk so we know what we've got for property and what we got to sell for property so we can do it.
From the select board, that is one of the things I would like to know before this next budget, is where all of that money was spent.
Select board, can I help out?
You certainly can, because I can't answer that
Trevor, the reason
question.
I'm gonna jump in on this one, and as an auditor and not a select board, is it okay for me to answer on this one? We, going forward to ameliorate this, we don't know currently, right? So to prove this going forward is we're gonna be more detailed with when we have allocated funds and actual funds. There's not that separation right now. If we have the two different columns, if we track that amount of money differently, then we wouldn't have to worry about that large lump sum money being absorbed into a general fund and then just being spent willy-nilly. We'd see the difference, the differentiation between what was allocated, this was available but wasn't spent, or here's the remainder of what was spent, and now we can appropriately track that and put it towards something else, but have that very clear-cut track that the road to my vocabulary, I apologize.
And to be clear, we do not have that. In no way have that information, which makes coming up with a budget for 2023 extremely difficult.
And that's why I say reset. If you can't prove it through the last two budgets, you know, that money was obligated and just not spent, and the reasons why, reset everything December 31st. So,
Is that legal to do?
Absolutely.
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 Okay.
Yeah.
For us, that's actually what I'm.
Not only is it legal, I'd ask the question back, what are you doing now? Are you doing nothing now?
You voted on a certain item for a certain expense, and it wasn't spent.
She's right, it's not legal.
Yeah, so listen, so a couple of things. I don't know what that expense is, but we were talking about a specific question that got raised with, you know, with something that's specific that was voted in the budget, you know, that wasn't spent, that for whatever reason, I don't know, okay? So you're gonna need to go isolate all those things, and what I'm saying is if you can't prove or justify that was the wishes of the people through the 22 budget, or the 23 budget, reset it on December 31st, start over as well.
Okay, that was the missing piece.
That is legal. That is legal. And that's what I would do. You're not gonna have a choice. You know, you're gonna go throw good money and go back 4, 5, 6 years ago and go down rabbit holes and look for ghosts. I wouldn't do it. So.
Time.
I'm having a crazy time.
All right.
Miserable.
The reason why the budget got voted down is there's no information in this damn book. We had nothing from 2022 saying what the budget was, 2022 actual, bring it to 23 to see how much money was left over. So it is illegal to take funds in that fiscal year and put it into something else by the select board.
I agree.
It is very illegal. So when we vote on something for highway, say we say, yes, we're gonna expend $65,000 for road material. If we don't spend 65,000, let's say we spend 50, there's 15,000 left over to the next budget. You can roll it over, but it has to stay in that line item 1410.
Yeah.
That means, well, it's not Alan anymore, but the road foreman has the right to use that, has to go to the select board and request to use that monies from that fiscal year. That's true, and over the years, that wasn't the case. The select board would spend highway funds on something else. It'd go to a general fund. That is illegal. In the same fiscal year, the second one, if you go from 2022 to 23, select board has the right to delegate that monies elsewhere.
So you bring up fair points, about, hey, this is the reason why the budget got voted down. Okay, I'm not sure what's going to get produced between now and April 23rd, but I'm sure you're going to get some information. It sounds like the town's ready to present that to you. Here's what I am sure. If it's unspent and you're putting the best budget together that can be defended for this fiscal year, here's what I would recommend. If there's something left over, I don't think I would just say, hey, it's left over because, we're thrifty, with our money. I'd ask why, for sure, and I would reset everything if you can't be provided an explanation, logically because of that. That's what I would do if I'm in your shoes.
Does anyone else have any direct questions? Karen?
Not a question, but a comment. I would like to say for the first time since I've lived here, I feel confident in a few people who are, you, Luke in particular, Catherine, and Jerry. For the first time, personally, I feel confident in where you're going. And I would like to put my support behind you guys.
Thank you.
Hey, you guys have any other questions of me?
Yeah. Actually, I'd like to ask you, talk about like allocation of funds that are voted, you have a budget, it's voted on, it's passed. Now, if monies are spent in a different way than what they were allocated for, if you don't have the approval of the select board or the town has voted on it, so what is that considered?
Was this directed at Ron? Because I know Ron's got time we have to be considerate.
It's an open-ended question for whoever can answer. I mean, I'm flexible.
That's not a wrong question.
No. Okay, you guys want to answer this one? Because that kind of dips into conjecture.
Yeah, I would have to talk to Vermont city leagues and towns. I don't have enough information to be able to answer that accurate. In my mind, as a select person, when you approve the budget and you approve X dollars for certain things, that money has to be spent that way. And if it's not spent that way, then the residents need to be told why it's not spent that way. That's not been happening at all over the past however many years. That has to happen. I don't know the legalities without talking to the League of City and Towns, which they are amazing, by the way. 4 lawyers, they're amazing. I don't know the legalities of if you take, if money was for this and you used it for this, is that illegal? Is it criminal? Is it just a misdemeanor? Is it okay to do? I don't have all that information yet, but we will get there. Yeah.
And does anyone have any final questions for Ron?
Yes, Mr. Smith, you said that you have a management letter that exists in draft form. When are we expecting the final draft?
I can finalize it right now, but that's not prudent on my part, especially when I'm finding out information has been given. But I would expect, sometime when this audit's completed, you'll have a final copy.
So your audit isn't completed?
No, it's not even close to being
so
completed.
When is the projected date for that?
I have no idea. Give me information to audit. I mean, what else do you want me to say?
I was looking for.
My goodness. So listen, when you give me something that I can say is right, then I'll give you an opinion. Okay? Until then, I'm not prepared. I'm not going to be irresponsible. So, and I'm going to go back to the sheriff's question, right now. You ask, has there been a line crossed? Okay? I'm going to respond back with just me being me for 32 years. Okay? Let's say it is. Who crossed that line? I don't think it's just one person. And I think that there's got to be some kind of definition of what that line looks like and how it got crossed. And I think that there's a lot of lines that have been crossed in Lunenburg. A lot. So.
I'd like to say something. I mean, this is my 4th year on the board. I've talked to the auditor more this year than I have in the past 4 years on the board. Right, wrong, or indifferent, I don't hear from the auditors that something's going on. I just assume we're good. I'm not saying that's right. I'm not saying it's wrong. like I said, I've talked to him more since he's been elected than I've talked to any auditor since I've been in the town. I know you guys aren't getting the answers you want tonight. I apologize for that. I feel very confident we're going to be in a much better place once this is all said and done. I thought we were farther along with the audit tonight than we are. I can assure you, I'm not trying to withhold anything. I try to be as transparent as possible. I keep the Zoom thing going. I try to encourage people to come to meetings. I don't want to hide anything. I don't think that's the intent of anyone else in this room. I want to move forward. I want to make this right. So I know Gary's put in a lot of work since he's been on. Our new auditor's put in a lot of work. It's not a great answer right now. I really hope soon we're going to have a lot of good answers for you. And that's where we're at.
And one of the things Harry's reached out to me, literally to the point where I've had a conversation with Harry's like, I wouldn't have hired us the way you hired us right now, because there's a lot of work to be done here for us to even get ready to have this conversation. And Harry's, you know, I'm not trying to defend anybody. Those conversations have happened multiple times with him and me, you know, going back to November, December, like, Harry, I wouldn't have done it this way. I wouldn't have done it this way. One, it's 21. Two, knowing what I know now, I'd be more interested in real time as opposed to something that's a year ago. And that's where I'm at right now. And Gary and I have had that conversation prior to this.
And the year I picked was the year that we should have had the audit. That's why I went with that year. Whether that decision was right or not, I'll stand behind it. That was the year that was really picked. That's when it should have been. That's why I went with that year. Like I said, I'm trying. Like the ARPA thing, I don't have a ton of answers for the ARPA. I know it was 4 separate payments over 2 years. I know, at least to the best of my knowledge, a woman from the state who is like head of the ARPA funding stuff had a meeting with Pat and Alan to get monies reported properly.
And Mr. Smith would have been doing that.
I don't know what he was given.
I got my information.
Here, let me jump in here real quick, just to get into this, and I want to respect Mr. Smith's time. I have already reached out to the State Department, so they're going to be sending over detailed notes, minutes, as well as the original statement.
Our town should be able to afford a Zoom account.
I was just wondering if it's easy enough for me to just sign my name and not know where the money's from.
Yeah, we're not doing that anymore. And then actually, real quick, is any more questions or statements or comments directed towards Mr. Smith? Karen?
Yes, Mr. Smith. I'm just curious because as you well know, in the last month and a half since our election, things turned over in this town completely. So a lot came out, but you were here a while ago and you were wrapping up what you had been given to produce a report with what you had been given. But the new auditors came in, different conversations started, and now you're looking at it again saying, you know what, this isn't finished.
We were looking at it still then, to the point
Well,
where I
that's
told.
what I'm saying, because I thought I understood from things I was told that you had pretty much
Done everything we
finished
could.
most of your work.
So I'm here to share. You weren't told that from me.
No, I didn't say it was
So
told.
what I told Harry is prior to your town meeting, before you had these people up here right now, I told Harry to put me in a room with your people. And he thought it was best to do that after the
So
town
what
meeting.
you're delivering today is what you were going to do.
So far today.
This is exactly
So far
what
today.
you were going to say.
Yeah,
That's
correct.
why
And what I'm saying is I know that it's not the whole story here for the town of Lunenburg.
Okay.
So I've known that for a few months. So, and that's why Harry and I have talked about, you know, changing the scope of this audit, which is what he said, hey, listen, I gotta live by, you know, December 31st, 21. I wouldn't have, I still wouldn't today, you know, so, but I get in real time, and as I told Harry, put me in a room with everybody. And that's what the purpose
So
of
how much
tonight.
more information do you have now versus the first Tuesday?
I still need a lot of information, and again, it's
You
just
have
the
more information now than you did.
I have some more information. I don't have enough to sit down and tell you what I'm about to tell for a story to write.
So you said you have a little more now.
What's that?
You have a little more information
I have a
now.
little more information now than I was provided.
Than a month ago.
Then I'd say a month ago, 2 months ago, and 3 months ago. So, and I'd still say that there's a lot more information. So, yeah. But what you gave us is not what you're gonna give back, is, again, this is the way I'll say it. So, and until I know what we give back to you is the right story to tell, you're not getting anything back from me. Well, hire another on it. I don't care what you do. Here's what I would do. I try to do the right thing.
My comment, I'm not gonna present those findings either. They're gonna come back. That's my opinion. That's why I wasn't gonna say anything at town meeting. I'm staying, honestly, as far out as I can to keep my hands out of it. Just, that's how I think it should be done. I'm just an electrician. I'm trying to do the best I can. So I'm, as much as I can with the state, find out information, but I keep my hands out of stuff that I feel I should keep my hands out of.
Do we have any other questions or statements for Mr. Smith?
Please, whatever questions you guys have asked us, I haven't seen, so I'd be more than happy to entertain that, and I guess I'd use you or whoever the board.
Yeah, I would say let's use the board. Once again, we gotta keep the audit separate. Use the select board, and they should have the information I'm hunting down. Or hunt it down as well.
I truly wish you all the best as you heal.
Thank you for your time.
It's travel.
Thank you.
All right, so whoever wants to stay, we're gonna be going over looks like everyone wants to go and wants to know what's going on with the proposed budget, correct? Right?
Yeah, I just wanna say one thing. When it comes to talking about town employees, will not throw it out here as a collective. If you have a problem with a town employee or how their timesheets are done, make a decision as a select board to change it. Go into executive decision. But the guys at the shop down there on a crosshair and tell a crowd of people at town that they're messed up, that's not okay with me. I'm pretty pissed about it.
If you're referring to me, I did not say they're messed up. I said that the way we are tracking the time on the sheet, I think
when it comes to town employees, you do not say a certain town employee is doing something messed up.
I didn't say that. I did not say that.
Absolutely.
I said the way.
That's why we don't pull out anyone's time sheets. We're totally messed up, and it's the most screwed up thing you've ever seen.
Falls
on you.
I did not say that. I said a version of that, but I said the way that we're tracking that time is wrong. The way we're tracking it. I'm not questioning whether people writing down their hours are actually working their hours. I have no basis to question that. I'm just saying that the sheets that we're using to track the time are inadequate.
You're the select board, take it into executive decision and fix it. Don't throw it out there.
I think we will, we all agree, right? We will be making,
There's already been a discussion about different way to take care of the time.
I understand your feeling for that. I would be frustrated as all heck too. I truly don't think anyone was trying to put anyone in the crosshairs. But I would have the exact same reaction if somebody came to my, or said that my people.
Guys trying to do the best they can.
Yeah. I don't think anyone though was saying that, but I agree that we cannot let that happen, and executive decisions will be made. That's part of the amelioration we're doing going forward, right? Is that we're no longer saying, I guess it's gonna happen this way. No, we're taking responsibility and we're being accountable. And I really have faith that this current team is gonna be doing that. But I understand your feelings, absolutely. I don't think that was said. But I think, damn, Greg, good for you, man. Stand up for people. That's what our town needs. We need people to stand up for each other. We really do. And I'm glad that we got somebody who cares enough to stand up for the people of our community. Thank you.
Well, it's good to say the good things and the things that need to be changed, things that are wrong. You talk about both sides of the equation. Mm-hmm. So when they're good, and when things are wrong, you talk about that too. Yeah. You don't soft scope it. No. You just, I always tell people, tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, whether you believe in God or not. Yeah. That's all it comes down to.
Yeah, you can't fabricate, you can't change, you can't lie your way out of it. It's gonna come out. So, but thank you, Greg. I think that's great info, and I appreciate that you're here all the time. I really do. We need your voice. Man.
Just before we get into the budget discussion and sort of pivot a little bit, I have no idea what the process looks like for the select board in terms of extending the scope of that audit, but I as a voter would really encourage you guys not to do so. Given the fact that we are sitting here in April, started in September, and we have less information and was told specifically information was not provided. That is the purpose of an audit.
We've had that conversation with Luke.
All right, so right.
That conversation's been had.
Just from a voter,
My
please don't extend.
No, my communication with Ron has been very limited.
I just
I don't want to.
60 hours went and $12,000.
I don't disagree.
$10,000. You get fined.
Oh, okay.
I don't disagree. I can't answer for anybody else. I expected more tonight myself.
It was it's listed as a presentation.
That was the conversation I had. I apologize for that. I really do. I really thought
It's
that
not
was.
on you, Harry.
I gotta take some of it.
No. Let's be very clear. What was presented here was nothing to do with the select board or their capabilities. Period. That's the end of that.
Okay.
Okay, so we're ready to get into close.
Yeah.
Okay. Before I hand out this document, I'm going to tell you, it is not what you ultimately want. And there's no way you're going to get it. So I'm telling you that right now. There is a lot of information in here that wasn't information here, like we've actually projected what we think property taxes will be collected in 2023, which didn't exist in the, I only made 20 copies of this, so it's 12 pages long. So
You need me anymore?
Do we need Pat anymore?
Huh?
Do we need Pat?
Make copies?
I know.
Do we need to make copies, Gary? Oh, do you want to go home?
I think we can work with this.
I just wondered if you needed me anymore, that's all.
We should be all set, Pat. We won't be making any more decisions anyways, so.
Did I give you my town health officer? Yeah.
I did, yeah.
Thank you. I'm already.
Yeah, I will. Thanks, Pat. Have a good night.
One of the things, this is why for the first 3 years, put that for every single one. And that's why we were like, yeah. Well, and that's why we said, I understand.
Yeah. So I thought I would point out a few things before you all have questions. One of the things is, feel free to take this document home, but this is not going to be the document that you're going to receive in your mailboxes. So just so you understand that, there are going to be changes between what you see tonight and what you will see on 14th. Right.
Now, the only thing that I was looking at is that you have the actual for 2022, but you don't have what was budgeted for 2022.
The separation
Yeah.
between allocated and actual has not been put into place yet, just because of time constraints.
Okay, because you can do away with the actual 2021, that doesn't make a difference.
Kind of, right?
People at town meeting, people ask for that to be included. That's why I say it.
It does provide a useful source, even if it's not accurate, and the auditors took that into consideration when we did our review. It's nice to go back and compare, because it's at least better to have something to compare to, even if it's wrong, even if it's slightly wrong or really wrong.
Well, I mean, the only reason why the budget for 2022 would be important is because at the end of an actual 2022, going into 23, it lets you know how much money on that line item was spent or overspent or underspent.
No, we 100% agree with you. It's just we don't have the time to put that in for this budget, unfortunately. Let's be real.
It won't be here by the time we have to vote on it.
Right, yeah.
Unfortunately. But Greg, this is why the auditor said we're gonna do a more complete, thorough deep dive. It will be an unofficial one, but it'll be later on where we can see where things really were. Which realistically, we can't, even if I was putting in 12 hours a day, I wouldn't be able to separate the things out because there's just not that there's not the information that's available, clear cut enough for me to do that, or for us to do that.
Isn't the budget for 2022 what was voted on? In the town?
It was, well,
Isn't that the budget?
well, the budget for 2023 was voted down.
No, that's this one, the previous year.
That's water under the bridge because the 2022 budget was approved last year. So that's water under the dam.
Right, but isn't that all that he's asking for, is to have the budget value for 2022?
Just for information.
We can add it. I've looked at it extensively and I will tell you, just as having the 2021 budget on there, it's meaningless.
It's more valuable to have what we have.
And not to throw stones, the budget wasn't great, but that is not the final budget we saw yet.
That's not the one.
There was definitely stuff that did not get edited, that should have been edited. I'm not throwing anybody under the bus. I'm not here to do any of that crap, but.
I mean, here's an example of things that we were given to work with. Look at page 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 6 lines down. Selectmen expenses. The actual for 21 was $4,736. The actual for 2022 was $4,736. That is not possible.
That's right.
But it's also impossible that we could ever determine what that $4,736 is.
So I can make a little bit of a comment there. To the best of my knowledge, the selectmen, that line item is lawyer fees and stuff. I don't know if that line item is higher because we had our tax sale and that encumbered extra lawyer fees.
Well, it's exactly the same number.
It's selectmen.
I thought you said it was 7,000 1 year.
No, I.
Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry.
That's just an example of some of the things that we had to work with when we tried to come up with some of these numbers. We did add the percentage change, which people requested at town meeting. And then, I want to point out, I won't go through all of the notes, but I want to point out a few things that are worth talking about. One is I'll find it. Sorry. It has to do with the coverage. Item number, not item number 13. It has to do with the Lancaster, item number 8. During the week of March 20th, the select board received a letter from the Lancaster Fire Department that our ambulance coverage for Lunenburg would increase to $58,590, over what we paid this last year, which was $35,000.
It's in the notes on the line.
Okay, all right. And the same with the sheriff's fee. What's really happening there, and I included the letter that Trevor posted, so you have a better understanding of why the jumps in those fees are so great. The one thing that I was told when I talked to the manager in Lancaster was 2 years ago, there were conversations with the select board that these increases were going to happen, and so they should not be a surprise, because when I called him and said, this is a huge surprise, he said, well, it shouldn't be because you're aware of this. What he wasn't sure is whether this is the last increase or whether we will have an increase in another year, and they're still getting to that. I did ask if they could tell us how many calls they had made. They don't know whether they can get that information or not. They think we may have to try to get that information from a 911 dispatch calls. So if it's helpful information, we can try to get that. I think we can assume they're not coming 50 times a year, but they're not coming 5 times. And what they're doing basically is they're making sure that every town that they cover pays the exact same fee per resident. And that's why the increases are going up the way they are, because everyone's going to be on a level playing field.
At $45 a person.
Yes. Yep, Caroline?
I know in years gone by, the ambulance, that what they charged was to cover people that didn't have insurance and who didn't pay for the ambulance to come and pick them up. That's what the money was for.
I mean, we have our own fast squad, but the Gelman fast squad cannot transport. what the town manager told me is what usually happens is when a call goes out, it goes to Gelman, to the volunteers there, and they will, if they have someone to show up, they will show up, and do whatever triage or whatever work they can until Lancaster gets there, and then Lancaster will determine whether they need transport or not, and it's Lancaster who does the transport.
So Gary, actually, and Select Board, I have a question, from the auditors. Oh, okay. Thank you. How do you guys want us to present our questions? Because we got a pretty good amount of questions. Do you want us to wait until after the public asks your questions? Do you want us to put these on an email to you guys? How do you want us to?
You don't need to, I don't think you need to email them to us. Some of them I already know the answers, and other ones I have no idea, but we can figure that out.
Okay. Do you want us to go through and ask open? That's more of what I'm asking. Do you want me to ask these in an open forum?
We can. That's going to take some time. So
yeah, and I want to be
really
respectful of everyone's time. So, do you guys want the auditors to ask our questions here in an open forum, or you guys want us to answer them in an email? Or ask them?
It's only 4 of 8, okay?
You can ask them. Some of them will be. Some will be a really easy answer. We don't know.
Maybe see if town people have.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Please, you guys are
Would you like questions?
The diehard people will listen to the audit.
Yes.
We'll email them out.
My first question, could you clarify your headings, actual FY '22? Is that column the amounts that were?
That is exactly what appeared in the town report.
Okay.
We didn't make any changes to those. We can go back through and make a lot of changes to those. I'm not sure at this point how helpful that's going to be to people. So from the standpoint of coming up with a new budget, we chose to stick with what was presented in the town report that you all rejected.
Not what was actually spent.
Well, according to this, that's what was actually spent.
Right. So you
Okay,
guys have.
I'm not finished. Okay, so, line 4912.10, transfer to Aldenwell Memorial Library.
4912. What page?
You know, page like 6 or 7. You have
4912.
special revenue funds, 4912.
Yeah. So, like I got.
They're in Normac
I'm not seeing it.
4912, special revenue funds, transfer to Aldenwell Memorial Library.
Yeah.
You said the actual is 22,000 for transparency, the library actually received 25,000 from the town.
I'll look at that. That might be a typo, but I'll look at that.
Back to when you talked to the town manager about the ambulance and all that. You know, I assume the minutes recorded of the selected meetings also, somebody takes minutes?
Patty does right now. She's the secretary.
So you see, I have the three.
You thought you were blindsided and distracted.
Okay, great.
This increase is
I'll
coming.
do that.
Why you didn't know it?
Yeah, I should be
No. Why weren't you aware?
Well,
And I'm talking to you before.
Right, yeah.
Take your number.
I don't know how that information was presented to the town 2 years ago. What the town manager told me is he had discussed it with the select board. But I don't know what form.
I don't remember exact numbers. I'm pretty sure it was a 3-year increase to get us to a point.
Yeah, that's what he's alluding to.
Yeah, I don't remember the exact numbers, but yeah.
We should have been blindsided on that. We should have known it and anticipated it.
Yeah.
And allowed work and allowed.
We should, yes.
That's my point.
Yeah.
That's my only point.
Yeah.
I'm not throwing anybody under the bus.
Yeah.
And I won't.
505,
Could I ask that Mr. Macy and Mr. Robinson take their
what's
their
easier
questions
for you
into
to
another
know?
room so we can hear
We
it?
go from there. Oh,
You're being asked to.
I apologize. We were getting account information. I'm so sorry. Who was, no, wait, we had a question that was directed to Greg. I'm so sorry.
No, no problem.
That was asking you to go.
No, it's for you to be quiet.
At the same time.
Oh.
But I guess, like, when it comes to the budget, on the first page, you say total income. Is our budget $2,595,403?
That's the school as well, I believe.
Yeah, no, I get it, but that's the whole town budget.
That's the whole town income.
Okay.
That we're budgeting.
And we haven't previously put that in the town book.
Right.
Well, yeah, no, this is why I got voted down.
Yeah, no, and I understand that, and I'll make a comment to the school budget.
Wait, I might answer the question
Okay.
before you can say it. So, the actual from 2022 was 22.6, let's say 2.7 million or whatever.
Yep.
Your budget is lower for 2023 than it was for 2022?
Well, from an income revenue standpoint, you always want to play down your income. From a budget standpoint, I don't want to tell you we're gonna take in 2.5 million and end up taking in 2.1 million.
Okay.
That's a conservative
The
figure.
whole thing is about this budget, all we wanna know is what we spent for 2022 as a whole budget and what you're asking for 2023.
And that's here.
Where?
Where?
What we spent for 2022 is right there.
Yeah, no, that's on property taxes. I'm talking about the entire budget.
I don't.
Including your schools.
It's all here. It's all here.
Yeah, it's only 12 pages. I just want the 2 line items. What you budgeted.
The last page.
Is it on the last page?
I would assume so.
But it's not on the last page.
It's the last one, whole effect, nothing more.
Okay. Is it higher or lower than it was last year? That you're asking for?
It's higher than
It's
that.
Higher. By how much?
$3.7 basically.
$142,000. That's a whole lot of different numbers people are getting thrown out there. Okay.
And
That's all you're asking for the increase of 2023.
Yeah.
Chances are 98%, that's probably gonna pass.
we hope so. We hope so.
So part
Now,
of the,
I will tell you that, so I was a little nervous that we're telling you that we're gonna have a shortfall of about $150,000. And in every town report I've ever looked at, I've never seen that before. I've always seen that we're gonna have $600,000 left at the end of the year. So just out of curiosity's sake, I took the 2021 budget and added in the numbers that should be there based on some assumptions. And if budgeting had been done correctly, we would be showing a negative number every single year going back. Yeah.
The good news, actually, let me jump in on this. The good news is that we are using data based on assumptions. The auditors actually believe that our income is being misreported. I think it's being grossly underreported. I think we have a tremendous amount more income, mostly because we're finding all these accounts. So we have assets we don't have a good handle on. But also there's many examples of state grants and reimbursements I think we have received, which is why part of our review went through just one account, and we came up with roughly 27 large sum deposits, which I believe are state grants. I've already sent forth a request from the state directly to get an itemized list of grants given to us by the state. We're pending. But I do believe our income is being unreported or misreported. They're no fault of anyone's. This is just, hey, this is the process, right? We have to dig through the money. Amanda, yes.
So on that point, when that does get, because we know for sure we have $392,000 unaccounted for from the state for ARPA alone.
Yeah.
Is that going to show up in that line items 3,300 specifically as ARPA
No.
for the budget?
Not on this one.
Why not?
Because I've sent a request to get these. We can't put guesstimates on a budget, right?
But it's not.
So,
You have-
as far as ARPA,
we don't have the
and I've been trying to find stuff out for a while. I understand your frustration. It's not for a lack of me saying don't do this. I really understand your frustration. So Luke has all the information I have received from the state directly regarding ARPA. As far as I know, like I said, as far as I know, that money has been reported properly. I have been told there is an account with just over $200,000 what's left of the ARPA funds.
So Amanda, let me directly answer your question. This is a huge contention point.
Yeah.
The reason I said, at least from the auditor's perspective, we're not gonna say, okay, here's the money, throw it on the line item, because we haven't received confirmation from the ARPA disbursements. We don't have a statement saying this much was put in at this time, this much was put in. There could be more than 300.
I give them to you. I mean,
Do
I
you
have
have-
them from the state. How come?
Oh, you do?
How come y'all don't?
Well, I requested it, so I'm waiting for them to say.
I don't understand that. Like anybody from any citizen can get on and go to the state and see exactly the date that it was distributed to whom, which is to our treasurer.
But what we don't have is the accounting of where that money was placed in whatever account.
Exactly, but what I'm trying to say is we need to see as a town that intergovernmental money made it here.
Well, that's actually one of the things that we have on here as, let's see, line item.
Because, I mean, Patty Stewart did it on page 35. I mean, I have them highlighted which ones are the ARPA funds from the dates for the.
Yeah, right.
So what I'm trying to understand is we have that money deposited. She's showing us it was deposited. I'm saying, show me the money, and we're not even putting it on this new budget. And I don't understand why.
From the auditor's perspective, we don't know which account the money was put in. And here's my problem with the report that was generated here was, correct me if I'm wrong, was this not generated from equipment?
This was not, no.
This was not? Okay, fantastic.
No,
How was it printed and put together?
Excel.
Okay, but see, I can't trust that. We have to get bank statements, we have to have actual data, because QuickBooks, Excel, you can manually input, you can manually change the data around. And this, I know the frustration, but I want us to have actual real information, not, we're telling you this.
Yeah.
It's not fair. It's not fair to us, right? To the town, to have potentially not clear data. And I understand your frustration, Amanda. This is one of my first and foremost things I'm looking into, which is why I reached out to the state to get a detailed list of disbursements throughout, not just ARPA, but any grant.
It's going to show up as SLFRF in the early part of COVID. It's going to show up as that, and then it's going to shift to ARPA. But we have, and that's just for 1 year. We have like $500,000 unaccounted for.
We have,
and I'm so tired because I've been doing this for 2 years and I can't get the city's lawyer to even reply to me unless I sue the town. That's absurd.
If you have the source statements, send them to the auditor's email. Please do, because that's what I requested, and I requested it a few days ago. They confirmed that they were going to be putting through their request to send
Gary has all of it. I gave it to Gary day one he was elected. He got it all.
And Lucas.
Okay.
Yeah, I gave it to you.
I mean, I can hear.
Whatever she emailed me, I did.
Here's his something. Like,
no, from the state.
But it shows it. Deposited.
I understand completely. I have to show a state form.
Okay. It shows SLFRF, amount, date.
The reason I have to show the state form, the amendment form, is I also need to see the terms on it to make sure that money was put in there and then it's being taken back out.
Yeah. Okay.
Right? And that's why. So I'm fully on your page. We're getting down into it. It's also a matter of, once again, timing. We don't have the time to now throw it onto this budget. We've got to get past.
But clearly, we do need that's not going to be zero, so we'll fix that. We need a number.
Yeah,
because obviously we're going to get state money this year, so that's one of the reasons we're digging this out. We want people to, tell us what's wrong in this so we can fix it.
Trevor?
So I did have my hand up with Debbie good. Sorry, Debbie. When he answered the question, I was shocked because it's the exact same question. When you said we're gonna use the actual numbers, if these aren't right, there's no way we can support the budget again.
Well,
here's the thing. I understand what Luke is saying. He wants to have it correct and final. He's got a process he's gonna follow, right? But you've gotta get somewhere in the middle to have accurate information on this budget. I mean, that's the thing, like, we deserve to know how much money was spent by the town, how much money was collected by the town, and how much is in reserve. Like, so if I am building a budget over here on this side, I'm asking the town for this amount of money next year. Well, how much money do I owe from previous years? And how much money do I have sitting in cash that is going towards funds that need to be expended? That is what we need to understand. I mean, the fact, so when I asked the question earlier about where all the money went from tax sales, that was a very specific question because between ARPA and tax sales, it's like $400,000. You know, you're talking almost $500,000. Where did it go, and do we still have it somewhere, or is it going to be spent somewhere? So when I look at that, my question earlier to Debbie, I was in shock. That's why I said I wanted to say, what do you mean this isn't actual? Again, like that's what we need to get to. And so even if it isn't the auditor's finding of where we are to put a budget together, we need you guys to put something together with the treasurer that's realistic. Because the first question I've got is, when you look at your delinquent property taxes under income under 3120, and you're saying you're gonna collect 157,000, and you base that on the prior years, well, Ron Pagliano did a ton of cleanup. So if you look at what you actually have for outstanding delinquent debt.
Right around what he's got in the budget right now.
Yeah. So you're saying you're gonna collect every penny of delinquent debt.
That's what you hope.
Well, but that is overinflating your income.
By a small margin.
Right. So if you look at what you typically collected over the years and then hit that percentage, you know, you wanna be able to collect it. You wanna put in a realistic presentation.
Yes, and I understand, and I appreciate the point you're making, which is we have to find the middle ground. Because I'm on your side over here, right, where I'm like, no, I have to have it historical, and we need to find exactly what it is. The position that we also have to be realistic with is that we don't have that information, unfortunately. I was about to come over there and show you, Sheriff, that I have the year-end totals for all the bank accounts I found for 2022. That'll give us a much better understanding of what money we had to play with, right? Which is absolutely useful and very, very useful. We don't have the time, or maybe I don't think we have the time to graft just the account information that I found into this budget before we need to present it and pass it. And it's unfortunate. What is presented here is probably the best that we're going to have in the time frame that we have to operate. This is something that the auditors, this is why we're sending out emails of everything that we find. You know, our checking account that ends in 3868. We ended 2022 with $43,821.36. I have the data that we've gone out and gotten and received, but it's impossible to graft real data, the data that's actually existing, into these budgets because they were done wrong. You know, they didn't have appropriate accounting. There's no way to determine whether the data that the selectmen here are having to try to sift through is even accurate.
So are we hoping that the state or Vermont League of Cities and Towns will accept, if we vote to accept this, are they going to accept our vote as
they'll accept it, yeah.
As presented?
They accepted the 2021.
Exactly.
If they accepted that, they'll accept anything.
And that's actually a beautiful point, is that we're kind of safe as long as we give them something. We don't have to worry about Montpelier coming in and putting their hands into our town. We don't want that. They will come in and do that if we don't present something.
That's what we need to hear, I guess.
And so Sheriff Colby, like you said, I really appreciate the point you're making right now, and that is it's not even ideal. That's what it should be. We're not there.
And the ARPA funds, these 392, somebody said there's like 200,000 left.
Okay, so
where did the balance?
I have an account that ends in 3506. It's called Unknown, and it has $200,017.10. I don't know if that's part of the ARPA funds. I don't know.
That is definitely ARPA funds, but that money cannot go into the
Karen, and
hold on, Karen.
With respect, Karen, I can't confirm
I know,
that.
you can't confirm it, but I can tell you that account was open for that.
Do you have the statements, the
I
history?
can't produce a statement as working in the office, that's exactly why that account was open, for the remaining amount of ARPA funds that we knew about. And that money cannot be spent until the town goes through the other procedures as to what the best thing to do.
Well, and this is why we have to get that statement from the state, because I don't know if that's accurate.
Well,
So-
but treasurer should have one.
Well, one more comment with the ARPA stuff. The phone conversation I had with the woman's information that I forwarded to both Gary and Lou. At first, there were a lot of restrictions with the ARPA money. And it went to almost no restrictions up to the town. Because it was, the comment I got from the woman at the state was that it was going to tie the hands of towns like Lunenburg that don't have that other infrastructure as part of the town. Like the water district. That's my best understanding. Whether it's right or not, I can't say that, but from the conversation I had on the phone with the woman at the state level dealing with ARPA.
Karen Danforth.
Yes, it was at a point and that's who I was referred to when I reached out to the Vermont League City Council. So it got to the point where it was going to tie the hands of small towns so much that they wouldn't be able to use it. So, the best of my knowledge, that monies could be put into the general fund.
Well, no,
And I asked a direct question whether we could use ARPA funds for an audit. I was told that would be a no, but we could put monies in the general fund, shift general fund money to an audit.
A line item.
Yes.
A line item.
So-
That's what I was told by the same girl.
I want to go back to the ARPA. That money, there were 5 categories it could be used for in the town. The selectmen in the end have the final say, but it did state specifically, and all the other little towns around here did this. They presented it to the town spoke about what they wanted to do with it, and little bits of money got distributed to little groups in the town, and it was yes or no, and the selectmen said yes or no in the end. It wasn't that the selectmen just said we need it all for roads, even because roads is one of the categories.
And to the best of my knowledge, about half of that money is left. We have,
The other half, I still haven't had my.
we bought a used grader. To the best of my knowledge, that money went to buy a used grader,
Under whose authority?
the select board. The grader we had 3 years left.
But don't you have to have a committee with the Congress? No, what's that? You don't? Okay, I understood that each town should have, or.
Some towns voted.
So like, if you're discussing the meeting that Concord had, that is not a meeting that was directly tied to ARPA funds.
Okay.
And we are going to have that. Probably not this year. We may end up on the list for next year. We are on the list to have that community meeting like Concord had. That is separate from the board.
Yes.
That will be a community meeting for community members to spitball ideas.
Can't pay for a Zoom meeting. We'll be right back.
That is what should matter. But like what Gary said, that's operating on the presumption that it is being input at all. There's the possibility that there is funds that aren't being. This is why you can't rely on only QuickBooks or only Excel.
You gotta start from some.
You do, and that's what this budget is.
That's what this budget is trying to
What
do.
Trevor was just talking about, this money, see what, what the deficits are, well, it balances up, just as a look. I mean, of course, do your audit, let's be thorough, let's find out if money's being, are the receipts for everything that's been spent, are there receipts? I mean, I'm not just trying to say.
No,
but there needs to be receipts, because in any type of business, you buy something, you spend money, you got the receipt, because you justify, because otherwise, it's misappropriation of funds. I'm just trying to share that. What Trevor's saying, though, to run this, just to get a baseline, you guys do your job, and then we really do the fine detail for the next year.
But then that's exactly what the plan is, right?
That's what I'm saying.
Speaking as a citizen now, I mean, as you all know, I worked in there as an assistant. So so I got to see some things. Speaking of this as a citizen now, I have total confidence that the money came in and had receipts and was spent on things for the town. Whatever was needed, whatever the Band-Aid was needed, whatever the hip suture was needed, whatever. There was no malfeasance with any kind of dollars. Whether QuickBooks could be done better, or these itemizations can be done a lot better, yeah, 300%. And that's what we're gonna see going forward. But as a citizen, I have every confidence that the money has so far gone back to the town. So that's all I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
We need a clearer way to look at it, because somebody who knows QuickBooks and who knows accounting needs to set up a better QuickBooks platform.
And Karen, I know at our last meeting, we discussed different ways that the town was gonna maintain these things, and
But the structure,
We're talking about the existing, I was trying to address Sheriff Colby's justified point. I completely understand. This purported budget really is that middle ground. It really is the middle ground.
Have you guys seen the QuickBooks report?
I have not.
No.
Aren't you curious?
Right.
Well, I mean, really?
Well,
To be totally honest, I can look at it and not know what the frig it is anyway. Yeah, excuse my language, I don't know any of that.
The reason I haven't looked at it is because I have looked.
budget, why haven't you at least pulled the report that, I mean.
So the reason I haven't is because I've looked at what's been presented in previous years, and maybe I've made a bad assumption, but I'm making the assumption that what's in QuickBooks is not going to assist us with this whatsoever.
And I don't know if normally when we do our budget, if we get a report from Pat and make adjustments based on what was budgeted and what was spent. I don't know where she gets those numbers from. I don't know if that's her QuickBooks printout. I just know that's what we look at.
QuickBooks Next needs to reconcile with bank statements every month.
But you can
So the
change.
numbers are, you can tweak it a little, you can tweak the reconciliation a little tiny bit at the end, and I can say that that was the last year or so, that was pretty darn close. We're looking at just this year.
Oh, that's good.
As to what?
Greg, sorry, Greg was first.
It's the only thing about QuickBooks. Until we're 4 months into this year, and we're falling still behind. But the thing is about QuickBooks, it will not tell you what line item it went to versus what the money was taken into. So when all these roads we get paid for, class 1, class 2, class 3, it should be going back into there should be a line item, class 1, class 2, class 3 roads. And QuickBooks will never ever do that for you.
No, you could
so therefore you have $20,000 for 1, 2, and 3, and it could end up $7,000 on a totally different line.
Yeah, and that's, QuickBooks is a great tool to use, but it
Thank you, ladies.
de facto, setup. You can't base it on, that's why the auditors are focusing on bank statements, the selectmen are using their methods, and we have QuickBooks. And so this proposal is kind of not from the auditor standpoint, this is kind of the marriage of the average of those three, right? And that's why this is the best middle ground. But yeah, to Greg's point, you can't detail QuickBooks any more than it already is.
Need any help going down the stairs? Any more questions, anybody?
I was gonna tell you, if you guys want a training on how to read your QuickBooks report, how to generate them, I'm happy to volunteer the time to spend it with you.
I've done QuickBooks for 25 years in my own business, so I know how to run the reports. The reason I'm not doing it, or that I haven't done it, as I said, I made the assumption that the information that I will pull from the QuickBooks that exists right now in the town office will not be at all helpful in this process.
It should tell you your income and your expense.
It should, yeah. It should tell us a whole lot of things.
It will only report the income that you manually hooked it
Exactly.
up to the bank account.
It's not tied to anything.
You can even have, when you set up to a bank account, you can have it only register a portion or a percentage of data from the bank account. This is why you can't rely on, you can say this to some main account, it's only going to report 82% of what's in the account, and QuickBooks will dutifully do that.
Yeah. Another part, yeah. So at this point, I'm voting no matter what. Because I can't believe nobody's looked at what our expenses actually were. And I'm sorry.
If I may share, Colby, the consequence for us putting no on this current budget would be catastrophic. It would be really bad.
So but the thing that's blowing my mind right now is that all of you have said you haven't looked at what our actual expenditures are, other than what's in the book that isn't generated from QuickBooks, it's generated from the report of the treasurer.
But what
where the question's coming
But what
from.
we're saying is, we have no confidence in the QuickBooks information that exists. That's what I'm saying. I have no confidence that I could run reports. Yeah, they're gonna tell me things. They're gonna tell me this. I have no confidence that that's accurate. And I have no way of knowing that that's accurate, because QuickBooks is, you sit down and you enter stuff in. That can be altered, mistakes can be made. So I could run all those reports. I don't think that they're gonna be helpful in this process.
If I may, just to help kind of explain a little bit, I have documents here that show money that isn't in the QuickBooks. I have expenses that aren't in the QuickBooks. And that's what they're kind of getting at, if that helps at all. What I'm saying is, I only have this because I dig, and I'm a mother of teenagers, and I have no life. They don't have it, and it's not in the QuickBooks, because I have those QuickBooks, and this one is in there.
But that's the question. In the QuickBooks account, if it goes into a bank account and it's shown as income received, sometimes, so like intergovernmental transfers, I'll use that as an example. When you sign up for an intergovernmental transfer, you put in an account, a bank account that you want it to go into, right? And the money is just wired direct into that account. It doesn't have any information that comes with it. You already were supposed to know what it is and where it came in from. Unless it's in one of the 18 accounts that it isn't in, going through the bank account in QuickBooks to see what is in QuickBooks compared to your actual physical bank account will show you that discrepancy. And you can see it there. And that's why I'm like shocked that, because that's where, to me, I still think you need to go look and say, okay, reconciliation of our bank accounts, reconciliation of our expenses should tell us how close we are in this. Because everybody's saying they don't have faith in it, but then this is what's making me crazy. Everybody's saying there's no misappropriation, the money was spent where it was supposed to be. Yet we're saying we've got all this money sitting there that we don't know anything about. And so the only way to find it, that to me is a forensic accounting that you eventually do to get the answer. And I understand how you're going about it.
Yeah. But not at that point yet.
Right, but to me, it's crazy to say we're gonna go ahead and move forward without knowing anything.
I think we're not saying that. If you read through the notes, there is some good justification for some of the numbers that are in the budget. We've done our due diligence and we've researched, and there is good reason to believe that many of the items that are reported in the budget are close to what they should be. But we could spend the next year trying to audit 2022. And they're doing that. They're in the process of doing that. We don't have the time to do that in order to get a budget passed. And if we don't pass the budget on April 25th, there are some very serious consequences.
And
the town will feel it.
That's exactly what the threat is that's the min-max that we're in between right now is, yes, obviously there's some things that we wish we could do differently and better, and go through and do a comparison or reconciliation of the QuickBooks and this. There's just not the time, unfortunately.
I mean, I talked to, and that's not to hold over your head and say, vote for this budget. If you don't like this, vote it down. I don't care. We'll deal with it if you do. But when I talked to the Vermont City and Town, one of the lawyers there, he said, you voted your budget down on town meeting day? And I said, yes. And he said, there wasn't a motion made for continuance and reconsideration of that budget, and the discussion continued until you got to the point where you could approve the budget. And I said, no, none of that took place.
But that definitely wasn't going to happen.
And
anyway.
he said, you do not want to leave the room on April 25th without getting a yes vote on a budget.
Because.
Rebecca.
Well,
So I'm hearing the words dire consequences of not voting the budget through. What does that mean?
We won't pay employees, we won't pay bills. Those are the two biggies.
Yeah, we won't have the ability to get any kind of grants for next year. We'd have to wait until the following and preceding year. We may be on the hook for grants that we were received, or I'm sorry, not grants, for loans that we have received, which I know of a few loans that we have. We may be on the hook for that if we can't show income, right? If we can't show that the town is receiving the income that it needs to, we may be called up on that from the myriad of banks that we have.
We will lose our ambulance coverage from Lancaster if we don't approve the budget.
And fire.
Yeah, we'll lose all that coverage.
Yeah, it's a catastrophic. It's bad.
You're already froze for highway grant.
Yeah.
I saw that in big bold letters. And
I'm going to be looking into doing grant writing. So I'll look into doing that and getting into that. That's going to be a while away. I'm the town health officer now too, so I gotta go into that. But that is one of the things I really want to jump into is grants, because that's money direct to us. We won't be able to collect grants at all.
I mean, one of the things that, that we've all talked about before is, we want to get back to doing the things that the residents want us to do. People have talked about, we used to have a great skating rink in Gelman. We used to have team leagues. We used to have all those kinds of things. We want to start working on some of those things. We cannot do that until we get this done. Can't do.
Suboptimal as it is, which it is.
And I'm not trying to oversimplify this specifically to Trevor and then Stephen was open. I think it's the problem is somebody just needs to set up a good structure in QuickBooks so that things are itemized correctly.
Well, and
things are reconciling how you say it to the bank statements. Right?
And that is,
they are reconciling.
Thank you for coming, both of you.
The receipts are not being recorded to the right line items. It's as simple as that. The problem is no bigger than that. That is making a huge problem.
well, and that's part of the path to cure that we're going to be initiating going forward. But we're at right here, right now, what's already being presented, and unfortunately, that's the case. And I understand and appreciate Sheriff Colby and Amanda's positions. Like, I feel the exact same way too. Unfortunately, we also have to take into consideration the consequences of not approving this and being in a very worse position, which is where we're heading if we don't get something on the table. Unfortunately.
So when do you think you would have these procedures in place so that this catastrophic data recording that's happening right now doesn't continue? I mean, when is this going to be starting to be done correctly?
May I answer this?
Yes, absolutely.
We're enacting that this week. So one of the things I've taken some time off on Wednesday from my normal job, and I'm going to be coming in here, and we're going to be laying out the law, essentially. Receipts, invoices, bills, when they come in, they have to be recorded this way. Once they're recorded, they have to be put in this place. This is where all the information goes. The auditors will then come in once a week to do substantiations. Every month we'll be doing reconciliations, and then that gives us the opportunity to say, hey, how come the bank shows that we're missing $3,000 and we have all these statements and they don't add up? We're going to be doing that every week and every month.
And it's starting when?
Wednesday.
Okay.
That's the earliest I can do it. Kathy, we're going to be working together, but the earliest I'm going to come in is Wednesday right at 8:30 and just put it in place.
And is Wednesday when the correct bank statement amounts are going to be entered into QuickBooks too? So that we're dealing with the correct accounts?
So I have to take a look at the QuickBooks first, which is why I waited till this point, because it wouldn't have helped at any point. I have to look at it first before I can say that. We might just have to start from scratch.
Yeah.
QuickBooks, which is what I think.
I'm just trying to understand.
No, of course.
Because, we have to vote or not vote on this budget.
Yeah.
And you need to give us confidence that what you're doing is going to be done pretty quickly.
Yeah.
So that we will vote on it.
Yeah, we have processes immediately that are going to be in place. Nobody here believes this is the best thing that we're going to present, unfortunately.
One thing you also have to remember, your internal auditors have been reconciling bank accounts right along. So it's not something that hasn't been done. They just haven't been doing it consistently every single month like they should. They'll wait and, for a couple, 3 months and then meet and catch them all up,
Well, they also didn't know about all the accounts.
Granted, granted.
All of them.
I'm not talking about kids, I'm talking about the ones where the bills come in and they get paid out of the sunset tax. That's just the general fund. Exactly.
The general fund, okay.
But another thing I want y'all to remember is that one thing that, we listers got approved and got done was we got the new module for tax administration. We got that passed last year and we've had it, and that now, before that, things were probably tracked on a spreadsheet, Excel spreadsheet, but now we at least have, the actual figures from the tax bills themselves right to all the receipts coming in. And there's no way, really, I mean, yes, I suppose mistakes could be made in actually posting the receipts, but, believe me, people let you know when you've made a mistake and you'll have it fixed, like that. It's just, there's a lot of stuff we all want to see happen, but we've got to be patient because the priority is the budget now. Get something passed so that we can still continue to operate. And these guys have already said they're going to continue working on it to get it to where we need it to be for next year. We all want everything because we're so impatient. We need it, want it now, but at least we're
I
making
think we
some
just need
strides going
timelines,
forward.
which they're giving us, which I feel very comfortable with.
Yeah, the time, or the operational process that the auditors have already sent out, we'll send out another one too. That's what we're gonna begin implementing, like I said, for me on Wednesday, and then we're gonna be doing that going forward. Yes.
So, there's one thing that needs to be doing here. Look in the room. How many people are here? And I'm guilty, I don't come to every meeting, just because I can't come to every meeting. What I can, I do. But when we go to vote, you guys gotta make sure, because there's gonna be a bigger number of people that haven't been here to listen to any of this stuff. Which they, by rights, they should have been.
Exactly.
Okay? But let's face it, they're not. So when we go to vote, the people that aren't here, that don't really know what's going on, they're gonna vote one way or another. So when we go in that room, I don't know how the final vote works out, but you gotta make sure before people do their vote, that they understand what you're telling all of us tonight. I know it sucks, they should be here so they can hear it now, but they're not. And you gotta make sure, because, I listen a lot, I don't always talk. So they need to know. I can see it myself right here, right now. If we don't vote on this and don't get this through, and I understand Trevor, and I'm not throwing nobody under the bus either, but it's pretty plain to see, if we don't make this happen, we're gonna be in a world of shit. Okay? My mouth gets full.
Well, that's the purpose of the April 18th meeting though.
Yeah,
right?
I understand, but the bottom line is, if the people don't understand how important it is that we pass this through, and I'm gonna be honest with you, a few days ago, I didn't think this way. But after being here tonight and seeing what's going on and hearing what's being said, we gotta get this voted through.
Yeah.
And I feel bad for the people that think that we shouldn't. And, like I said, I'm not throwing anybody under the bus either. But people, we gotta make this happen. And when we go to vote, you damn well wanna have everybody comes into that room, understand before they vote how important and why we gotta get this through.
Yeah.
Of course, and that's why we send out emails, we're hosting these meetings, we send out emails. Eventually, we'll have a website to post this on, but to continue on your point.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Have a good night.
Your point, we're gonna present the information as best we can, and we're gonna have to lay it out. We're gonna have to lay it out.
No, it's being held, just so, there's misinformation going on out in the community about the meeting, so I will tell you what's right. The vote has to be a floor vote, because we did a floor vote at town meeting, and you cannot change from floor vote to Australian ballot, although there are people out there that are bitching and complaining, saying it has to be Australian ballot. No, it cannot be Australian ballot, that would be against the law. It has to be held in the same location that it was, so it will be held at the school, we've already made arrangements for that. So it's Tuesday, 6 o'clock, the informational meeting we're gonna hold here on the 18th.
That's what I was talking about, for everybody to come here. Is this gonna be enough room?
I think for that 18th, yes. And keep in mind,
In regard to people not understanding the process and consequence.
you know, I would encourage all of you, invite your neighbors to come on the 18th. Everyone's gonna receive a copy of this in their mailboxes on the 14th, which is next Friday, not this Friday, next Friday. And then there is the following 4 days later, 5 days later, there's the informational meeting on the budget. So we want as many people to show up at that so that we can talk what we've talked here tonight. So when they go to town meeting, they will approve the budget.
You're gonna mail this,
Yeah, it's gonna
the
be,
budget.
yeah,
But are you gonna have a cover letter
Yes.
saying
yes.
why you are strongly encouraging the people of
Yes.
Lunenburg to vote for it?
There, I didn't
That's the
include,
point, right?
like, there will be a letter from the auditors that I didn't include. There will be a letter from the selectmen I didn't include. And there's a couple other documents that I just didn't feel we needed to have done tonight. But yeah, those will be it.
Okay, because that's gonna get the message across,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Hopefully.
right.
I think there's only three things that we care about. How much did we spend last year? How much are you asking for this year? And how much are my taxes going up?
Or going down. I can guarantee you, because we won't be able to answer number three.
Taxes never go down.
You should be able to.
No, we can't. And I'll tell you why. Sorry, not to raise my voice.
No, absolutely.
The school part, I can't tell you what that number is gonna be. Even the school can't tell us what that number is yet, because it has to go through the state first. We don't even though that budget passed, we don't know what our share is yet.
I will, to add on to that, there's a note in here that's saying that I reached out to the kingdom to get information about.
They
what we
can
expect
give
to
us
say.
an estimate.
They got back to me this afternoon, so I do have their projected estimate for what they will be charging Lunenburg and every other town, with lots of caveats.
Yep.
That, you know, anything can happen, but so the number that's here, I'm gonna adjust it to the information I received this afternoon, I just don't have time to do it today.
Right, but I mean, $100,000, $200,000, $300,000 increase in this town isn't gonna raise your taxes all that much.
Right.
I mean, $15 maybe? Well, some of you guys are living high on the hog,
Hold on.
That's what people vote on. They wanna know how much it's gonna come out of their pocket.
Of course.
I mean,
That's the smart way to vote.
I've got a question on the computer. Go ahead, Chris.
I just want to verify that everything that we're going to get in the mail will be what we need to be able to have an understanding of the discussion on the 14th and ask questions.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
18th. Our discussion will be the 18th.
The
Chris,
18th?
Yes, it will be, but it will require everyone to do some homework, because it's a 12-page document, and there's a lot of numbers to look at, there's a lot of information, there's a lot of notes to read, and so in order for people to fully understand it, they really need to sit down and go through it.
Yes, I understand that. I understand that process, and there's a lot of people that are willing to do that. It's just being at this thing tonight, okay, you're talking about numbers. I can't see the numbers. There was no place to get the numbers in advance of this meeting. And I just want to make sure that people who attend through Zoom and cannot be there physically will be able to have everything in front of them so that we can understand and ask questions.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. You will have that.
Thank you.
And
Hold on, I think I got someone else too. I don't know if Nick's got a microphone.
So, while we're waiting for that.
No, hold on. No mic.
So this has been very helpful tonight. We've gotten feedback, which is exactly what we wanted. We know we need to go through here and make some changes. You can all take these documents with you. We do have a deadline, Thursday. I will stay up as late Wednesday night as I need to research what you want me to, and to get these numbers as close as we can. The select board now has an email address. It's lunenburgselectboard@gmail.com. feel free to email us over the next few days if you have more questions, if you see something that doesn't look right, or if you think something is just completely wrong, or if you'd like a note that says, what is this figure? What does this cover? So that we can add that information in as well.
The auditors will be sending out an email probably tomorrow morning or afternoon with our questions and responses. So everyone who's already on that list will be receiving that, and then we'll post it in the Facebook group as well too. We encourage anyone to tell them to give us an email, or if they want to add on to the others, email us, that we can get you going.
Would just like to thank Trevor and Ann for breaking the dam.
Yes.
Okay, do we have anything else, folks? I want to make a motion to adjourn. All in favor? Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.